What do I want to play?
Definitely not.
Man, there's nothing here that I want to play. I know.
Arcades, the cool hangout for kids in the 80s and 90s. You had Pac-Man, Galaga, Frogger, Donkey Kong, Mario Bros, the list goes on. And while arcades aren't as popular nowadays, even in Japan, where before the pandemic it seemed like they would last forever, there are still quite a few you can find around the world. I'm lucky enough to live within reasonable driving distance of the famous Galloping Ghost Arcade in Brookfield, Illinois, which, if you live in Illinois or relatively close, you should definitely take a trip there. It is the largest arcade in the United States, with over 900 games, all for only $20 per person for the whole day. No, I'm not sponsored by them, I just really like this place and want to let everyone know about it in case they didn't already. But included among these games is one that barely anybody got to play in the US when it first came out, SegaSonic The Hedgehog. Let's go over some history, shall we? After the success of the first Sonic game in 1991, Sega wanted to bring him to arcades, a market they already had their hands in with games like Fantasy Zone, Flicky, etc. Sonic himself actually made his first appearance in an arcade game, appearing as a mirror decoration in Rad Mobile a year before Sonic 1. Anyway, Sega wanted to bring Sonic to the arcade scene, and their first attempt was interesting. Waku Waku Sonic Patrol Car, a children's car ride game that is a children's car ride game. Not much to say there. Their first attempt at an actual arcade game, not a car ride, was a massive failure. Sega Sonic Bros., a Puyo Puyo-esque puzzle game that features Sonic, Red Sonic, and Yellow Sonic. To be honest, I played this for about 5 minutes and I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. The only really interesting thing here, at least for me, is that one of the songs in this game would end up being repurposed for the special stage theme in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Anyways, like I said, this game did not do well, failing its location test and thus never being released to the public, and it would be quite a few years before a ROM of it was discovered and dumped online. However, not too long later, Sega would take another crack at it with developer Sega AM3 helming this one, SegaSonic The Hedgehog, released nationally in Japan in June 1993, as well as having a very limited release in the US and Europe. There was another arcade machine called SegaSonic Popcorn Shop released a couple months prior, but it was primarily a popcorn vending machine with some Sonic stuff attached to it. But yeah, SegaSonic The Hedgehog was the next actual arcade game. What's interesting here, though, is that the international release was not translated at all. There was supposed to be an English localization, even replacing Robotnik's sprites with that of his SAT-AM design, but it never saw the light of day, and so no matter where in the world you play this game, it will always be in Japanese. This game also featured the introduction of 2 new characters to the series. Taking inspiration from the red and yellow Sonics in SegaSonic Bros., we have Mighty the Armadillo, also based off of one of the concept designs for Sonic, something I mentioned in my Sonic 1 review, and Ray the Flying Squirrel. After this game, however, these 2 would be pretty much forgotten about. Mighty later made an appearance in Knuckles Chaotix in 1995, a game I will cover in just a few reviews from now. The 2 would be featured a bit in the Archie comics, and then make a cameo appearance on some wanted posters in Sonic Generations. It wasn't until 2018's Sonic Mania Plus when the 2 finally made their long-awaited return, but that's for a later review. So let's go ahead and talk about this game's story, though there isn't that much. Dr. Robotnik kidnaps Sonic, Mighty, and Ray and brings them to Eggman Island, an island full of traps and hazards he controls from his console in his tower. The 3 make their way across the island, eventually raiding Robotnik's tower as he triggers a self-destruct sequence. The 3 manage to escape the island before it blows up, and Robotnik crashes into the sea due to his Eggmobile running out of fuel. And that's it. That's all there is to the story, but to be fair, it's an arcade game, so the story isn't really all that big of a deal. So let's go ahead and talk about the gameplay. This game is shown from an isometric viewpoint and has the players using a trackball to control the characters. You can have up to 3 players at once, and my god, this game is difficult. It's clearly designed to make kids spend lots of money because every time you die, you lose a credit, and if you have no credits left, you have to insert more to continue playing, and you die a lot in this game. Each character controls the same, which makes sense so that any player can play as any character and not have any advantages or disadvantages over other players. You can jump, and you can run. That's it. As for the levels, there are 7 of them. Volcanic Vault, Icy Isle, Desert Dodge, Trap Tower, Landslide Limbo, Wild Waterway, and Eggman's Tower. Remember, Robotnik was always called Eggman in Japan. Aside from music and visuals, all of these levels are pretty much the same. You run in a straight line, occasionally turn a corner, sometimes climb a wall, avoid various traps until you reach the end, Robotnik gets angry and slams his fist against his console, repeat. Also, like I mentioned earlier, at the end of Eggman's Tower, Robotnik activates a self-destruct sequence, and if you don't make it out in time, you lose. Seriously, no respawns. If you fail to make it out in time, you have to play the whole game over again. You get 1 chance, and that's it. I'm not going to talk about voice actors since I don't speak Japanese and have no idea who any of these people are, but I will talk about the music. Surprisingly, this game has a pretty sweet soundtrack. It was made using 3 sound chips, 2 Yamaha YM2612s, the sound chip used in the Sega Genesis, and a Ricoh RF5C68, the sound chip used in the Sega CD. Every song here is a massive earworm in my opinion. I really can't pick a favorite. Overall, this game is a pretty decent arcade game. It's definitely my second favorite arcade game in the series, right behind Sonic the Fighters, but I'll save that for a later review. Overall, I give this game a 7 out of 10. If you live near an arcade that has this game, definitely go over there and give it a shot. If not, well, it's not that hard to find a ROM of this game online. So that does it for this video. I know it was kind of a short one, but I wanted to cover this game in particular before I did Sonic Mania in the future. You'll see why if you don't know already. Anyway, starting with the next review, we're going to be mostly alternating between the classic and modern sides of this dual retrospective, starting with what is technically the first 3D game in this series. I will see you all next time with Sonic 3D Blast. All versions.